Welcome everyone to the Tennessee Valley Unitarian Universalist Church. I hope the Easter Bunny has been to your house. If not, don't panic. I'm told there are some problems with the global supply chain, and it might work out in the fullness of time. But there is no problem with the global supply chain with our upcoming rummage sale. So if you're looking for rummage, Lillian's going to make an announcement before our service begins.
I know some of you are getting kind of tired of hearing this, but there's some new faces out there this morning. I'm Lillian Mashburn, chair of the 2022 rummage sale for the church. We will begin accepting rummage May 1st, right after church. So we will need to, as soon as church is over, whisk everything away and put up the tables and start getting ready. The church will be open to receive items at 9 a.m. each morning until 8:30 in the evening. And the rummage will be accepted until 9 o'clock Friday morning. The sale will begin at 12 on Friday until 6 p.m. Sale will resume on 8 Saturday morning and finally end at 4. This is an all-hands-on-deck event, and we need everybody to participate. And we will accept all kinds of donations, but we'll need many people to help. People to sort and put out merchandise and price it. This includes those who could come in the evening after work, and we need people to help unload cars, and if you have a truck, you will be most greatly appreciated. But we will rent a small U-Haul to help in picking up some items and delivering others. Kitchen help is needed. We need food for our volunteers, and also important, not wanted. We will not accept dirty or broken items. If you wouldn't give it to your children, don't bring it. Don't bring broken appliances, broken exercise equipment, or broken electronics. Only flat screen TVs. If it doesn't work, throw it away. We cannot accept used car seats, baby equipment that doesn't meet current safety standards, and no mattresses. Somebody raised that point, and I said, no. We can't sell those. It's not legal. If you don't want to purchase items this year, would like to contribute, donate money to the church for the rummage sale. This way we can have people from Bridge, Family Promise, and to help out some of the new Ukrainian refugees that will be coming into Knoxville. They can come and purchase items, and that would be really exciting for them. So volunteer time, if you contribute 5 hours, you can buy things at half price, and a lot of people like to do that. So we're looking forward to it. I will be out of town this coming week. Not this week, but the next week, so I won't be here next Sunday. And somebody else will make the announcement. But if you have any questions, contact me through the week, and I'm looking forward to the rummage sale.
At last we are here after a long winter. We can say enthusiastically and without second thought, Hallelujah. New life begins. Spring is here in all her glory. The earth and creatures are resurrected from the dens of hibernation and dark slumber. Let the husks of our shells crack open and discover our place in the universe. Awake, awake, rejoice, Hallelujah. Come, let us worship together. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. This is our great covenant.
Good morning. It is so good to be together today on this Easter, Passover, Ramadan, almost Earth Day Sunday. I'm so glad to be gathered here in this room with those of us who are here in person, with those who are watching from Lizzie Crozier French Room or Room A or from home. We are gathered together as one community in celebration today. And I have a story to share with you that is as old as the universe, although parts of it were adapted from a story written by Ellen Kelsey called You Are Stardust. Now, in the blurb for today's sermon, Chris mentioned that NASA has hired theologians to help prepare humanity for the possibility that extraterrestrial life might be discovered. However, I've got to break it to you, friends. The extraterrestrials are already here. If you look around the room this morning, you might see some of them, because every single one of us, all of the elements in our bodies were born in stars billions and billions of years ago. Well, that's not quite right. So the carbon in our bones and the oxygen we breathe and that flows through our blood, those were all born in stars. But one of the elements that's in our body, hydrogen, now there's a lot of it because some of us might already know that more than half of our body is water. And every water molecule has 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom. Some of us may be familiar with some chemistry. The hydrogen was born at the Big Bang when the universe began. We are as old as the universe. Friends, we are the universe grown eyes to see itself. And on this Easter Sunday, I think to me that might be the most miraculous thing of all, that all of this astronomically old star stuff saw fit to arrange itself into us. Now, if we want to go a little bigger than atoms and molecules, we can talk about cells. And every single one of us began as one cell. And so did every other creature on the earth. And like the fish in the deep ocean, we began swimming in the salty waters of the womb of the person who birthed us. And in fact, salt still flows through our veins, in our blood, and in our sweat, and in our tears, and the sea that is inside of you is just as salty as the sea in the ocean. We are all related. And every now and then I need a reminder of what I'm talking about. How many of us have ever drunk some water? Did you ever drink water? Did it ever occur to you that water just cycles? Some of us might in school. Have any of you learned about the water cycle? Water in the oceans goes into the clouds in the sky, comes down as rain, returns to the land, and is drunk by creatures, right? Has it ever occurred to you that some of the water that you drink today might have once been in puddles that was where the dinosaurs drank? The same water. And in fact, every part of us, it doesn't go away. It just rearranges itself somehow. Now, our bodies are pretty amazing things, too. I wonder if you knew that inside of your brain, electricity stronger than lightning is powering every single thought you have. And our bodies constantly change. Have any of us changed recently? Can you think of a way in which you've changed? Our physical bodies change. We are not the same people we were yesterday or a year ago or 5 years ago. Does anybody want to make a guess how long it takes for all the cells that line our stomachs to change and be new cells instead? I heard 7 years. Anybody else want to make a guess? You want to make a guess? Maybe. 3 days. Every 3 days, the cells that line your stomach are completely different new cells. You will shed your skin and replace it 100 times before you are the age of 10. And throughout your life, you will build yourself completely new skeletons over and over again. We feel like we're the same. We are. I'm still me. And yet every part of my body has changed. And none of it will ever go away. It will just become part of something new. Now, if you were a planet, you would probably be a lot like the Earth, because just like we have lungs, the Earth kind of has lungs too. The rainforests on the land and the algae in the sea are the Earth's lungs. And from your head to your toes, inside and out, we are related to all that exists, not just to the other animals and creatures, but to the rocks that we walk by, to the sky above us, to the planets that are so far away. We are all related. We are all nature. And my friends, we are all stardust. And this morning, we invite those who would like to go to our RE spaces. We have a youth focus for middle school and high school that is going to follow the youth focus sign that we have here to room B, those who would like to go to the youth focus. And young people who would like to come to our RE space for younger kids and any youth who would like to join us for some Easter activities and games. We are going to the fellowship hall. We're going to follow the learning lab sign that way. And we have an Easter egg hunt following the service. So it's really important to know how it works. So parents, you need to come pick your kids up from the fellowship hall after the service by 12:15 or whenever the service ends. And then we are all together going to walk down to the end of the hallway and out the doors, and we're going to have instructions for the hunt outside of the play yard gate. So we will see you all a little bit later. Happy Easter.
Joy! It is a beautiful day and a great time to be together. And hi, everybody, here, there, everywhere. I forget which rooms, but I know you're here. Well, the reading for today is called Prophets. Always, it is easier to pay homage to prophets than to heed the direction of their vision. It is easier blindly to venerate the saints than to learn the human quality of their sainthood. It is easier to glorify the heroes of the race than to give weight to their examples. To worship the wise is much easier than to profit by their wisdom. Great leaders are honored not by adulation, but by sharing their insights and their values. Grandchildren of those who stoned the prophet sometimes gather up the stones to build the prophet's monument. Always, it is easier to pay homage to the prophets than to heed the direction of their vision. There are many people we can have joys and concerns about who have had recent surgeries or have been ill. And there are lots of people we can say, hey, you're better. I'm glad to see you. And so I ask you to remember everyone and to be happy if you see somebody here today that you haven't seen in weeks, or years. So be happy, be joyful, and make a point, even if I have to trip over someone, to say hi to each other. I see one family that I'm really excited to see. So everyone, it's good, be good, turn to each other right now and say hi. Good. We celebrate, well, for you, I'm learning how to celebrate Easter. And there's not a lot of talk of the cross, the resurrection, and the death and all of that. What's important, though, about today is that we have had 40 days, whether you knew it or not, of Lent, of examining yourself and seeing where you could grow or where you have grown. Like a seed trampled underfoot, we overcame violence and took root. And like a flower wilted by a freeze, we lifted our heads up, newly bloomed. And like a stream gone dry in drought, we sought a source and survived. And like a tree bent over from the storm, we stood upright and straight and tall again. And like a faithful lover returning home, I welcome your risen presence today. I welcome the resurrection of all of you in your heart, in your soul, in your spirit. A moment of quiet, please. So shall it be.
Our offering goes to the continuing work of the congregation. There are many different ways to give in this age of variety. If you're old-fashioned, cash or a check, there's a kiosk in the lobby where you can use a credit card. You can donate securely by going to onrealm.org for the church. And the other thing you can do is make a pledge to this church. I encourage you to pledge to the continuing work of the church. We're trying to develop our budget for the next fiscal year, and we're trying to make this church as inclusive as possible for all ages. Information on how to pledge is also in your order of service. So let's take a moment to feel gratitude for the continuing work of the church, the face of family and friends who are with us today, and give generously to the Tennessee Valley Unitarian Universalist Church.
The composer of this offertory, Alexander Peskanov, is a Ukrainian-born composer who moved to the United States and has been teaching here about as long as I've been alive. And he has written many compositions for a wide range of skills and experience levels. And some of his music available now is, the proceeds will be dedicated to helping Ukrainian families. This particular piece was inspired by thoughts of floating out in space, free of the Earth's gravity, and was also inspired by a particular movie, which I've added an Easter egg at the end to reference that.
Earlier this year, friends started forwarding me an article about the fact that NASA, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, was hiring 24 theologians to help prepare humanity for the possibility that one day we will encounter extraterrestrial life. And I think the reason that so many people forwarded that article to me is they thought I would be a good person for that job, that I have that kind of theology. Oddly enough, the first thing that came to my mind when I saw the article was a joke that I heard many years ago, and it's a joke that seems particularly appropriate to tell on Easter Sunday. The story goes that once a group of Christian missionaries got on a rocket ship and they launched out into space, and their goal was to spread their faith to other planets. And when they landed on a planet, they got out to speak to the aliens and introduce them to Jesus. But there was the problem. The aliens already knew who Jesus was. They said, yeah, Jesus comes to our planet 2 or 3 times a year. And they're like, wait, he hasn't been to our planet in over 2,000 years. And the aliens say, yeah, he comes to our planet all the time. And when he comes, we give him chocolate. He loves our chocolate. He can't get enough of our chocolate. What did you do when he came to your planet? Jesus was badly treated in his lifetime. And here's the thing, human beings don't have a great track record on how we treat each other either. During the era of the pandemic, human beings have not been on their best behavior. Ask any cashier. Ask any sales clerk, ask any teacher, ask anybody in the healthcare professions, and all of us, I think, have probably been on the receiving end of things. Now, in Tennessee, it's not that uncommon to see one of those billboards that says, Jesus is coming, are you ready? But maybe Jesus is waiting for a better offer. Or maybe he's waiting for us to get our act together, to be kinder and compassionate and treat each other better. So this Easter Sunday, I want to talk about that, how we can treat each other more kindly and more compassionately, but also heal from the trauma of the last couple of years, the trauma that's been so evident with the pandemic. On Easter Sunday, let's explore what it might mean to heal together, to find wholeness together, and to become more compassionate and kind together. Over the last couple of years, there's been a lot of loneliness, a lot of isolation, a lot of depression. And when we're depressed, it can be hard to get out of bed in the morning. And so I find it interesting, there's a rabbinic tradition that tells us every night when we go to sleep is a tiny death. Every night when we go to sleep is a tiny death. And every morning when we wake up is a tiny resurrection. And so if you got out of bed this morning, give yourself a pat on the back. That is a small miracle. That is a small miracle. And we are all called to this kind of resurrection. Life can be tough. Just yesterday, I did a memorial service for a mother of a member of the congregation. And there was a lot of grief. And one of the things that I noticed is after the memorial service, and we're on the car driving to the Appalachian Cemetery, and it was truly Appalachian. We were like slanted hills. But driving toward the grave, there were red buds in bloom, red buds everywhere, death and resurrection in the same moment. So life can be tough, and we need to be good to each other. I have to admit that sometimes when I'm feeling down, I'm guilty of practicing a very specialized form of retail therapy, which is to say I go to a bookstore. And recently at a bookstore, I discovered this book, Einstein and the Rabbi, by a rabbi, Naomi Levy. And this book is interesting because it tells the story of another rabbi, Robert Marcus, who once wrote a letter to Albert Einstein after Rabbi Marcus's son died unexpectedly. And it's kind of a reversal of roles, the rabbi writing to a scientist, looking for words of consolation, looking for words of comfort, looking for perspective in some way. And we don't have the letter that Rabbi Marcus wrote, but we do have the letter that Einstein replied to, and it contains some words in it that are often quoted, but people don't remember the context of he's comforting a father who's lost a child. And in these sentences, Einstein gives a statement of his philosophy, but dare I say it, also his religion. He wrote, "A human being is a part of the whole, called by us the universe. A part limited in time and space, we experience ourselves, our thoughts, and our feelings as something separate from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of consciousness. This striving to free ourselves from this delusion is the one issue of true religion. It is the way to attain a measurable peace of mind." Now, these words call to mind something that the Hindu tradition teaches, that we are all like drops of water separated from the ocean. And then one day that drop returns to the sea. Now, this idea may or may not be comforting in a tragic moment when we're facing the death of a loved one. I remember once Dottie Burnham, a member of this church many years ago, shared this Hindu idea with Diane Igo after her grandmother died. And she was grieving the death of her grandmother, telling her, and Dottie told her this idea of the drop returning to the ocean. And Diane was not consoled by that idea. She said, "Dottie, you don't understand. My grandmother was a really great drop." And yet, Einstein's ideas do resonate with Zen tradition. Granted, healing happens on its own timetable, and we're not always amenable to the comforts of philosophy. But Einstein's ideas do resonate with the Zen Buddhist tradition that tells us this concept of a self is an illusion, this idea that there is someone called me in here, and there's people called others out there, when there is no clear line that we can draw between ourselves and others and the stars in the skies and the planets and the galaxy, because we are one. Einstein described this feeling of oneness by saying, "The most beautiful emotion we can experience is the mysterious. It is the fundamental emotion that stands at the cradle of all true art and science." He said that if we cannot experience this emotion, then we're as good as dead. If we can't experience awe and wonder and mystery, we're as good as dead. And yet, when we rekindle this emotion, there can be resurrection. One of the times I feel this emotion, and I'm looking forward to it, I hope everything goes well and we can go on our church retreat again to Pickett State Park, which is part of the Dark Sky Association, which means there's so little light pollution that you can stand out in the field, and we've done this every year when the sky is clear, and there's just this wonderful display of stars from horizon to horizon. And on a clear night, you can even see the stars twinkling between the limbs of the leafless trees in winter. And every time I do it, I'm reminded of the words of the philosopher Immanuel Kant, who said, "Two things fill me with breathless awe, the starry night above and the moral law within." Something within us is linked to everything else. And when we stand under the stars, we feel aligned to the essence of all true religion. Now, not everyone thinks like a physicist, but I do feel a certain resonance with Einstein and Rabbi Naomi Levy, who summarized Einstein's philosophy in her own words and as it related to her own mission as a rabbi. She wrote, "If the mission of Einstein's true religion is to help us see the underlying oneness of things, then as a rabbi, I consider it my mission to spread the word about a faith that can unite people of all religions and races. A meta-religion we can all agree upon and belong to. A religion of universal connectedness, a unity that holds us all together. And she said every once in a while we can feel this. We can feel this. It's a feeling, not just a thought. We can feel it when we catch a glimpse of oneness, a sense that we are part of something infinite and wondrous that not only surrounds us but flows through us. Flows through us. Oddly enough, I sometimes think, I'll listen to one of our local rabbis and I'll get a clearer understanding of what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist. Sometimes when you're talking to somebody of another faith, they help you understand your own faith better. And this, she describes what the words Unitarian Universalism mean to me. Sure, Unitarian Universalism is the name of a denomination. And sure, we find it in the name of our church, Tennessee Valley Unitarian Universalist Church. But the words point to something bigger than any church or synagogue or mosque or any other holy place. It's our unity with everything that is, our unity with the cosmos, our unity with all life, and our universal connectedness. Unitarian Universalism. Now, this week, my daughter was expressing confusion about why Easter is scheduled, has a different date every year, and I explained to her that Easter is always the first Sunday after the first full moon after the spring equinox. And she said, "Wow, how very pagan of the Christians." And it is. If you go to Stonehenge and you go to some of these places, their ancient religions are all aligned with the stars. This year, Easter Sunday falls within the season of Passover and the season of Ramadan. They're always close together, but this year they overlap, and that only happens every 30 years or so. The proximity of these holidays is not an accident, but is a reminder of our interconnectedness. Passover and Ramadan are also based on lunar calendars. So all of these holidays are about being in alignment and relationship with the cosmos. It's about our universal connectedness. During Ramadan, it seems appropriate to read the words of a Sufi poet, Hafez, who once wrote words that can serve in a very meditative way. He wrote, "Just sit there right now. Don't do a thing. Just rest. For your separation from God is the hardest work in the world. Similarly, our separation from each other is the hardest work that we do. On our altar, we have some Ukrainian eggs that were provided by Ann Whitney. And I know all of us have seen scenes on television broadcast from that country all around the world that reminds us of how hard human beings will work to be in conflict with each other. How hard human beings will work at polarization and discord and division. Like Christ on the cross, innocent people are bleeding into the soil of the Ukraine. And we are reminded of the words of the prophet, "Forgive them, Father. They know not what they do." But we have violence in our own country. And we have violence in our own community. We have children that are afraid to walk to school or walk home from school, fearing for their lives. So forgive us. Forgive us. We know not what we do. NASA, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, has hired 24 theologians to prepare us for the possibility that we may encounter life on other planets. We are committed to exploring the stars even before we understand ourselves. Committed to exploring the stars even before we've solved every problem we have here on earth. So let me end this sermon by suggesting 3 very small steps we can take toward world peace. The first step we can take is to give away more chocolate. And I have an Easter basket here full of chocolate that I'm going to place here within reach of anybody. And as you leave, I want to invite you to come get some chocolate. And as you taste the chocolate, I want you to reflect on love. The love in this room. The love that is the spirit of this church. The love that can renew and restore and sustain us. And the second step for world peace offer is advice from another physicist, Stephen Hawking, who said, when we're down and when we're depressed and when we're demoralized, he said, don't look down at your feet. Look up at the stars. Look up at the stars. And the third small step toward world peace can be summarized in this sentence. If our separation from each other is the hardest work we do, let's stop working so hard. Let's stop working so hard and rest. For when we rest, we are kinder people. When we rest, we are more compassionate people. When we rest, we are more generous people. And when we rest, we rekindle those feelings of awe and wonder without which we are dead. When we rest, we open ourselves to resurrection. Happy Easter. Joel Miller once wrote, "We all know loss and pain, let none of it divide us. In the rising sun today, let us do together what we cannot do alone, roll away the stone that closes our hearts." Prophetic Church, the world awaits your liberating ministry. Go forward in the power of love, proclaim the truth that makes us free. As our last act of worship, I invite you to remember there's chocolate up here for you, but also to turn and greet your neighbor. Go in peace.